How you doing, Daniel? Good evening.
Yeah. Evening, Ahmed. I'm good. How have you been?
I'm fine. I said it was not the debut everyone was expecting. Everyone was expecting a new manager bounce against Ipswich, but the match ended 1-1, and thanks to Onana, Man United would have lost that game. But that's not. I don't think that's even the most important. That's the important thing. It was things that Unai Emery. I said Unai Emery. Sorry, Ruben Amorim
Amorim?
said after the game that was scary, and I was like, "What? What's going on here?" Because he said a lot of things, but the one I picked, and that was why I said, no, we need to talk about this, was he said, Man United, he said, we are going to suffer. You can remember that quote. He said that thing. He said, we are going to suffer.
But Eric Ten Hag have said the same thing too. We need to suffer. He said
How come, in
it.
what sense? But you are hired to come and fix things now. So why are you telling us that we're going to suffer?
You have to suffer because when you come into the football club and you look at the decay in the football club, in Eric Ten Hag's last few months, I maintain that this is beyond just a manager issue. You see what he said, where, for instance, I'll give you an instance. The fact that Amorim, stated that he has done more media, had more media engagements in the space of 2 weeks than he has ever had in four. It may be exaggerated, but like that just goes to tell you what I've always said. Like I tell you how big a club Manchester United is, and then how much of a media enterprise, a franchise for a lot of things that Manchester United is. As a football coach or manager, wherever you Manchester United, you are not just only limited to look. You barely have time from once you clock in at 7 a.m. It's round the clock. You have a lot of engagement. I'll give you an instance. On Sky, I was listening. One of the guys was like that he went to Liverpool one time. He went with Liverpool Football Club one preseason to China, and by the time they were preparing, that they had an interview, 45 minutes interview with Klopp. And the Liverpool media, head of media came to them and said, look, they have to keep it very brief, that he can only give them 15 minutes. And they were like, why? And all that. Said that he has 50 other engagements. Klopp had 50 other media engagements in that day. And the guy in Sky Sports said, this is Liverpool. Now, do you know what Manchester United is? It's on YouTube. I watched quite a lot yesterday from some of all these guys who are up there in media and all that have accesses, all around football. I just needed to get a feel of what everybody's saying about Ruben's post match conference. Look, the issue in Manchester United is beyond football, and this thing now, it has sort of like descended. Yes, on the players, the character, there's a massive decay everywhere, top to bottom. There's a massive decay. Now, what's even making it, or what is going to make it worse, which I believe is the reason why the coach is saying we're going to have to suffer, is because when you look at the players there, we have maintained this team. Manchester United players don't play for Manchester United. They play because they just need a couple bit of good performances to sign the next big paycheck.
That's bad.
They don't wear the badge on their heart. Look at that team. Can you say you have 3 leaders? When I mean leaders, like, can you say you have 3 leaders, 3 fighters, 3 guys that once you go down, 2 goes down, and you turn around and look at them, they're steering you guys up, and you're going to finish the match 3-2-4-2. You don't have them on that team. We can say, oh, what the manager wants, or okay, Diogo Dalot is now going to have to sit. He's no longer playing the whole inverted role. At some point, Diogo was sort of carried away in the first half. If you saw, Ruben was shouting at him, calling him back because he was unhappy with his positioning. He was drifting in again into the middle, wanting to play and you can't fault Diogo because that's what he has been playing. He's been accustomed to for the last 2.5, calendar years. So there's a lot of work. We don't have legs in the middle. Bro, like after the first 10-15 minutes, bro, Eriksen was out.
Rashford, after scoring that goal, was out.
No, Ruben.
Can you remember what you said? I remember what you said in our show. Like that was, I think it was after the Liverpool game when I interviewed you. You said, "Is it Ten Hag that is going to teach Casemiro how to pass the ball?" That first goal. Look at what Ruben Amorim said. one of his comments. He said,
Yeah.
Decision making is a concern. You don't need to coach them in this level.
But I said this thing, and people said,
I know,
people say I'm a
I remember you said
sympathizer.
it. You said it
People say
that
I'm a sympathizer. And people are saying, okay, Eric, but you're the one who signed these players. Look, Casemiro has won. He signed Casemiro hoping that Casemiro was going to bring a winning mentality. But like I was telling you yesterday when we were on the phone, I said, look, I feel so bad that Casemiro was one of the players who turned on Eric. I feel so bad, so terrible that Casemiro was part of Rashford. Eric Ten Hag revived your career, gave you the best season you have had in 9 calendar years in Old Trafford. Under Eric Ten Hag, and you turned on him. That's what I'm saying about. Look, Ruben was saying it in the one-to-one interview he had, sponsored by Skybet, where he had with Gary Neville. He said that, look, if you are a Manchester United player, you must play for Manchester United. That it's about the character. It is not about the player form or whatever. It's about the character. And that's what we've been saying. Look, Anthony, why are we not crucifying Anthony? Because if, despite the bad form, if Anthony is suited and is running on the grass, you are going to get 110% from Anthony. That's what we are saying. Look at Garnacho. Just want to have good season. A baby like you are feeling that you are now bigger than United fans. I understand. Fans have been calling you out or whatever, but are they calling you out for what you did not do? You've had terrible decisions by the final third of the pitch. What's the
decision making that Ruben Amorim is talking about?
And yellow card. What's in the team games and yellow card? Okay, imagine you guys are now asked to play structured football. There is no fluidity. You guys were hanging on the ball, thinking. There was no fluidity. Ruben said it. Remember, he said it. He said that we held possession and we are all static. We didn't know what to do. No movement, no nothing. We have been saying this thing for years.
He said, I think my players were thinking too much during the game. That was what Amorim.
Look, it's not about we may want to blame the system, but if you look at that system, bro, that system is just a basic 4-4-3, a 4-4-3-3. It's just a 4-3-3. You can call it an inverted 4-3-3, whatever you want to call it. It's basically he's not inventing anything new in football. We have seen that Rafratni attempted to play that in Old Trafford just 2.5 years ago. It's so sad that playing having your fullback sort of like running like a madman down the flanks. Because basically that's what this guy wants to do. Where we're on both sides, that's right fullback or left fullback or right or left wing back. It's more like an extra winger who is going to. Because if you look at it, what that formation did was that at all time it left either Garnacho or Ahmad one-on-one the defender, because other defenders were preoccupied with the extra man in the middle. So your wingers are always one-to-one. So if you look at it in the real sense, it's the same football. It's just that you require more energy to run back. Bro, like, when we lost possession, tracking back, I was laughing. I literally was laughing. Look, our midfield is dead. And I can understand Ugarte not starting because obviously he came in late, had only one training session because, he was away with Uruguay and, flying in from South America, quite a journey. And, Licha had been out and all that. So I know in the next two weeks, next 2 games, 3 games, the players that will be starting in Manchester United, I will not be surprised if I see some 19-year-olds starting.
Yeah, there's this 17-year-old boy that they're talking about. I don't know.
I said, I think this is sexy. Oh, God Almighty. Oh, fuck, man. Fuck, man. Bro, to be honest, and the sad thing is that the wage, if you look at the wage bill of these players, you begin to think, you begin to worry, what football club is going to have, take these guys away from us and sort of like, because, look, I think for me, this is one and done for Rashford. After Ruben Amorim, I think there's no longer excuse for Rashford. I think Rashford, I believe Maguire will come good in a back three, probably being the central man. I think Maguire will be okay there, being the central man. But you see Rashford, I think from here, Rashford, the earlier we sell, let Rashford leave and get a good 50 to 60 million quid from Rashid, the best for the football club. I don't think there's anything again we can do for Rashid. The moment Rashid scored the goal, it was like, I've done my bit. He wasn't tracking back. His passes, his movements up front, his contribution. I was like, these guys. And why I'm so happy now is that the memory of Eric is not far away. It's still just around the corner. We're still in touch with the memory. So Leeds fans begin to say it is the manager. I don't know where you understand where I'm coming from. Before they turn on Ruben, let's not forget that it was just 3 weeks ago. It was just 3 weeks ago that we had Eric in Old Trafford. Eric was still at the helm of affairs in Old Trafford.
People online are saying that Eric is the cause of Ruben's struggles now.
No, Eric is not the cause of Ruben's trouble. What is Ruben saying?
Ruben is trying to outcoach all those things that.
Hold on.
He's trying to coach out of them.
Eric signed players that will fit in a 4-2-3 or a diamond, which is what he plays. We can hear Ruben saying or hinting, he hasn't said clearly, but he's hinting that there will be no transfer activities in January, but he's expecting, he's hopeful that come summer, something will happen. Every manager who comes will look for a couple, 2, 3, 4 players that fit in his player profile. And he's saying something about working together with the club hierarchy to sign the players of his profile, which is the same thing Eric did, which is the same thing any other manager is going to do. What do we have in Chelsea? What do we have in Arsenal? What do we have in Man City? What do we have in Liverpool? Why is Trent Arnold not starting again? People are not crying for Arnold. Why? Because Liverpool is winning.
Yeah, that's true.
So the moment 1 or 2 things begin to happen, say Salah doesn't sign his contract extension. I don't know if have you listened to the interview, that Salah lets out, and all the nonsense his agent has been doing on the background with all these cryptic tweets and all that, trying to unsettle the team, hinting on the fact that Liverpool are not offering him something handsome and all that. What do you want Liverpool Football Club to offer you at your age? You want them to offer you 450? Why? When you're over 30, if they offer you that, they're still trying to keep Arnold. Arnold literally basically is unhappy now, even the fact that the manager is asking him to play something and he's not willing to play. So every manager, look, I don't understand why fans sometimes don't want to be critical. Where you were saying that Eric signed players that fit the kind of football he wants to play. This manager, Ruben, is here now, and he's basically telling you guys that he will need players that will suit what he wants to play. And if it doesn't work for him, another manager comes and he wipe out. That is it. And that is why I'm saying that what Manchester United should focus on is having a structure for the club, like Real Madrid. When you come, Real Madrid is going to play a 4-3-3. Any manager Madrid is signing must play 4-3-3 and must play with the players Madrid sign. It is the football club that signs the players. They have certain profiles for every position. They sign and they hand over to you. Why is Perez in the last 2-3 weeks? Why has he been, hard on Carlo Ancelotti? Because he gave him Hendrick, he gave him the young Turkish lad, and they're not playing them. And Tchouaméni has been out of form. What's the other guy? Camavinga has sort of been unstable himself. And that is why he's telling him, you have to play these guys because we bought these guys for Real Madrid. And that is why when you come to Real Madrid, that's why whatever they are paying you, if you don't fit the style of football, you either go on loan or you sit on the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a football structure. That's an organization. That's a football institution. And that's what I'm saying. Manchester United, regardless of the manager, regardless of whatever, must have a structure, must have an identity. I'm still referencing Louis van Gaal. It was well over 11 years ago. 11, 12, yeah, am I right? 11, 12 years ago, when Louis said that, look, the club have to do away with all this whole Sir Alex Ferguson hanging in the air, whatever DNA bullshit, and carve out a football structure. Louis van Gaal said it, that Manchester United is not run by football heads. Yeah. And we are seeing it year on year. We are seeing it. Look, these managers are not terrible. And I'm happy. And in Ruben Amorim's first press conference, he spoke highly of Erik ten Hag. He said it clearly outside the top 5 European league that he developed a team with Ajax that was something entirely different. One of the best teams, and he was one of the highest state manager at the time. He referenced that. So there is something happening in Manchester United, and that thing for me is nothing other than identity. There is no identity, there is no structure. And that is why I maintain that if somehow I find my way as a critical decision maker with the Ineos, if you have sat down in Old Trafford, anywhere around the kitchen, the gym, the technical room, anywhere you are for 10 years and above, I will look for a substitute. You have to leave. I have to set a structure, a proper football structure, set something that can match up with the demands of football today. Look, we're in. Do you remember we said this thing now? We're in for a long one. And Ruben is not just is learning, is going to try to, first of all, apart from the whole footballing part, he's been complaining of the media activities. He has to learn the British culture. He has to learn how to. I like how he has managed the press so far, but it's taking too much from him. The job in Manchester United, and he said that the club is too big, so many departments that he has to get used to all of them. There is a job here, there is a lot of work to be done. I don't even think that Manchester United fans have realized this thing.
But what if, let me ask you this question. What if Ruben plays 3 games with his 3-4-3 and it doesn't work? Do you see him changing?
He said he's not changing. In his words, he said he's going to stick with it, that we're going to suffer, win, lose, regardless, but that he expects us to win. But he said, win, lose, draw. He's going to stick with it and get through the pain and then continue from next season, rather than say, manage whatever you have this season and start from next season. And because he said something, he said, regardless, anytime you start, because it's a change of structure, you must feel it. So it's better you feel it now.
So going forward, what do you want him to do? What do you expect him to do?
Nothing. Change the players particularly in the middle of the park. Because the truth is that you go and watch the match. Watch the highlights of the match, or even try and sit down and watch the full 90 minutes again from an analytic point of view. I think on 2-3 occasions he was calling Kase. Obviously, Kase is at this age. His player profile is not that sort of central midfielder who goes high up. He was urging Kase to move up and block the space it and press high, because he presses with 5-6. The same thing Erik ten Hag started this season. These boys to press high with 5 players, and they refused. But now they cannot refuse because this manager just came. They can't refuse.
If you refuse, you go to the bench now.
They can't refuse. But the same thing, the same press. The only difference from the demand, because this manager is actually demanding exactly the same thing. He's demanding discipline, improvement in your fitness, running forward and running back, high intensity, game management and control. Exactly the same thing Erik have demanded from these players. Have we not heard when Erik said that the players are lacking control in the middle of the park, they're losing ball too much? He has said it now. Why are we sounding like Ruben is the first person that said it?
No. If you are talking about that, we know the person that loses the ball the most. It's Bruno now. I told you Bruno as a number 10. He doesn't.
But it's not. But to be honest, and to be fair with Bruno, when he dropped in the middle of the park, like centrally, in the second half after the substitutions, he had a decent game. He was able to sort of like bring calm in the game. But it's not just Bruno. Kase loses the ball anyhow. Bruno sort of like he also said it that Bruno. I'm talking Ruben now. Ruben said it that Bruno. He mentioned his name. He said Fernandes. He said Fernandes has to learn that you don't have to kick the ball long all the time. Sometimes you have to keep it and nick in those short passes. Move, get the opponents moving in the middle of the park. Get them moving. Just take control of the game and then you press again. And you can't tell me that. This is why I'm saying you can say that, oh, Erik, you're the one that signed almost the entire team. I will agree. Managers, let's not forget, because obviously because Pep is winning, because Klopp. Let's not forget that in Klopp's 3 seasons, by his 3 seasons, he had already signed about 33 players for Liverpool. We're forgetting that club has a lot of flops.
Yeah.
Because he won one prem and
Ragnar, what's the guy's defender say? Ragnar.
Yeah, we're forgetting that Pep has bought a lot of trash in Manchester City himself. Currently, there's a lot of trash there. There's Jack Grealish. There is Savinho just came and gave them 2 good games, and that's all. He's gone. There is Doku, that one that has a very low below par football IQ. So like the fact is that it is not every signing that will come good, and particularly for a football club like Manchester United where the demands are that high. I can understand Anthony has not come good. Cassie had an above average first season, struggled in the second season, sort of like picking up in the third season. Eriksen, obviously, we know he doesn't have the legs, but basically he was just brought in like that veteran to sort of like steady the ship before we were able to get that class of central midfielders / central attacking midfielder, within his player profile. But if we look at it literally, Licha didn't play almost last season. Yep. He was injured. If you ask me, the only players that have not really sort of like functioned for him, Højlund also even was injured for the most part of last season, better part of last season rather. Anthony, for me, Anthony is the only thing. Anthony is the only player that you will say that the guy got that has not really performed. The Leeds came, and he only had one bad game. They wanted to crucify him before the other international break, not this most recent international break. And since he came back from that international break, where he considered an own goal also at Netherlands, he had a very
problem with his coach.
Yeah, he had a very terrible spell of 2-3 weeks, from club to countryside. And then since then, he has picked up. They said, he gave Johnny Evans contract. Johnny Evans literally have saved us last season and so far this season. So if we look at it critically, it's a player that he bought that is a flop for that team. That is not. He's the one that gave Kobe his career. He basically, Onana, obviously, yeah, we know. When Onana even came his first season, he struggled. David De Gea struggled in his first season. In fact, his first 2 seasons. Remember his first game? His first game was, I think, the Community Shield against Manchester City. Edin Dzeko's 32-yard strike. 32, was it 32 or 33-yard strike? That strode into the post. Or you're talking the games against Blackburn, where the corner pieces, where he was literally nowhere. He was sort of like buried. He was swamped up. When he came, he was like a broomstick. The goalkeeper position for Manchester United is no joke. And so we as fans, must understand that what is going on. You don't expect a manager. I've said this thing. Look, no manager will fix Manchester United in 2 seasons. No manager. No manager will fix Manchester United in 2 seasons. Why? There's a lot of, let me start from the player side. There's too much player power in that football club. And do you know why? Because the football club is presenting them as an asset, as a tool for money making through all their home media engagements and all that. There's too much influence from player management. I'm talking, their agents. We have seen it under Jose Mourinho. We have seen it under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Then from top, I'm talking of now the hierarchy executives. They have not been doing football in the right way. They've just basically been about the war chest, the paper, the profits, pulling out money from the football club, rather than having a proper football structure. Look, there is no Ruben Amorim. Come on, man. He's not even that experienced. He's not that experienced and that traveled to fix Manchester United in 2 seasons. I can bet with anybody. I'm a diehard United fan. I want United to succeed, but I will maintain this thing. No manager will fix Manchester United in 2 years because there's a lot of decay in that football club. A decay that have lasted decades. Okay, so, and you can't fix it in 2 seasons.
All right.
We're in for a very long ride. We're in for a very long ride. The only thing to be hopeful about is that for the first time, we can say we have football heads attempting to run the club.
So give me your final thoughts before.
Sorry. Gary Neville asked in the interview. He asked Ruben, the one-on-one interview he had with Ruben. He asked Ruben, how he intends to, manage players when he has demanded something from players, probably, to play in certain ways, and the players. He was like, there is no other way. It's my way, our way, or no other way. And that the way he has had the whole thing synchronized with the executives, he mentioned Dan Ashworth and Benyada or Barada, whatever. He said the way he has discussed with them and everything, such that they are in sync. Anything he says to you, he said, I'm a player, I'm an ex-player, I know what these guys will do. They will get their agents to stir up things, and the agents will want to meet with the club. He said, in such a way that whenever I tell them and they tell their agent that the agents go to meet Dan Ashworth, they will hear the same thing. And it's either they are going to stay and play for Manchester United or they leave. He has been talking tough. Calling out, indiscipline, certain things he has observed and he noticed in a short spell. Nobody is saying anything. But because we didn't like Eric, because they felt the bad guy, he was doing the things he was doing, and they are saying
Eric is a fraud.
They say we will see how much of a fraud Amorim is. I am hoping Amorim succeeds, but I'm going to tell you that it's going to be like attempting to bite off what's it called, the shell of a turtle. Is a daunting task for him, because he's not only going to have to deal with football, he's going to have to connect and deal and manage the fans. He's going to do the same with the media. He's going to also manage the players in such a way that you have to time has come where you have to now manage what the players are saying in the media, what they are putting out on their Instagram, where they are going, where you fly somewhere, fly secretly. Don't allow paparazzi cameras catch you. There are things that they have to begin to set out rules now. You don't see Bayern Munich players behave in such manner. You don't see Real Madrid players behave in such manner. You don't see Barcelona players behave in such manner. There is a standard. He said something to Gary. I'm talking Ruben now. Ruben said something to Gary Neville in the interview. He said, Neville, your time, when you look at the team, you have 6, 7, 8 leaders in that team. He said it to Gary. He said, but today in football, it's not like that. Even here, it's not like that. That's what we are saying. And this is the manager that has spent what? He's in his 3rd week now. This was his 3rd week. And he's been able to see all these things, notice and observe all these things. And people think the job of Manchester United manager is a stroll in the park. Come on. Well, fans are always very emotional. But like I've said this thing, there is no job. I will maintain this thing. You will put together the Chelsea job, the Arsenal job, and City job. Put them all in one as the demands of one. It is not up to the demands of a Manchester United manager. I've said this thing before. I will say it again. That football club, bro, you need to near Old Trafford to understand what I'm saying. You need to go close to Carrington to understand what I'm saying. Only the atmosphere, it was like when we were, back in the days in secondary school, when you are approaching Depot gate, the air begins to smell different and feel different. It feels like it's heavier, that you're perceiving a warm, heavier air, sort of like once you're approaching the Depot gate, and then that kind of a feel. That kind of a feel.
All right, Dad. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you after the game against Bodo Glimt right here.
Yeah, Bodo. Is the game in Old Trafford, right? It's home.
I think it's Old Trafford.
It's home, because we've gone away the last 2 games. Yeah, last 2 Europa League games. It's home. But to be honest, like I say, it's so sad that we couldn't pick up all 3 points from Ipswich, because I was hoping we would have sort of but now the gap is widening the game to 6 points. I thought we would have sort of kept it closer, the 4 points. And that way, but I still think that somewhere, somehow, if the team is going to pick up, I will still maintain it. You just need about 7 games, 8 games, good games. They are going to be able to to challenge. The good thing is that like I said, the last 4 games under Erik ten Hag, and then the 4 games that Ruud van Nistelrooy managed, we saw that the team sort of played more compact, have been more difficult to play through. I also saw that, particularly in the second half against Ipswich, they became more compact, became very more difficult to play through. For me, that's the positive in the last 1 month. In the last 1-2 months, that's a positive for me as a fan. So the issue now is going forward, finishing the chances that have been created now, and being disciplined at the final third of the pitch, being very, very disciplined at the final third of the pitch. So I'm hopeful. I'm a fan. I know circumstances. I'm still hopeful that a top 4, top 5 finish is very possible for Manchester United this season. Again, the boost I'm having is sort of like, if you look at the direction the league has been going, like, you're talking of the inconsistencies, in the form of some of the teams that are currently in a better situation. I wouldn't call them teams that are better than Manchester United, because Arsenal obviously is still a very small club, and Chelsea and the rest of them. So like, maybe teams that are maybe better placed at the time, if you look at the inconsistency in their form, it sort of like gives us hope. So yeah, I expect us to win against Bodo, probably I hope a comfortable, maybe like 3-1, 2-0, 3-0 victory. Yeah.
All right, Dan. I'll see you on Thursday after the game.
All right then.
Thank you very much for joining me. See you next
Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.